Hey guys, this is Anon, and today I have some gameplay of the absolutely mighty Borsig Tier 8 German tank destroyer. This thing is an absolute beast, and it's been a ton of fun to play with. In fact, if I had to make a list of my tanks most likely to get hit with the Nerf hammer, this would probably be at the top of it. I would say enjoy it while you can, because I don't think there's any way they leave it the way it is. It's just too overpowered. I don't usually talk a lot about setups, but it's pretty much this entire new German line. I'm running the same full sniper kind of get-up with binocs, a camo net, and rammer. I'm also running the top 15 centimeter gun on this tank just for its massive firepower. But with the turret on this tank, it's really pretty devastating. So if you play it the right way, abuse the camo, just don't take shots, because obviously you're just an HE magnet. You can have a lot of success. So, rightfully, because of the overpoweredness of this tank, the mastery level is extremely high on this thing. So if you have your golden M, congratulations. A lot of people don't have it yet unless you got it right away. So it's going to be a little bit of battle in this game is kind of an example why, and some of the other gameplay I have in this video to kind of show that. So, on Fort Despair, I'm running around on the flank, just kind of looking for any shots. Most of the reason I went this way is there's just a little bit longer kind of shooting lanes to work through. I really like to set up in a good spot and let those binocs kick in to see if you can spot anything, because you want to keep as much distance or cover between you and any enemy tanks as you can. I also rolled this way because if you can get HE into the red mediums, you're going to do a lot of damage because it's just got really nice penetration values. So always going to roll for that damage when I can. So clearly what's happened obviously here is all the green is out, all the red is in, and I figure they're going to start circling. I push up this far just to see if we get any spots on the backside sometimes. Tanks like to sit up in these snapper roosts, and you can get some HE shells into the back of them, and obviously that doesn't really happen. So now that they're starting to get spotted, I'm just looking for some good shots on the Pershing. I get spotted and see the T-29, so I have to back up a little bit. I go ahead and use my HE shell that was already loaded into his side because I knew I would at least get some damage on him, because I knew I wanted to kind of rotate back around and get into these bushes, so I could have a little bit more ability to help. So our team is starting to get hurt a little bit here, but it's not really a surprise with the situation. So I want to get my camo working for me. So I roll into the bushes, and what's great about this tank is with that 360-degree turret, you can leave your hull completely stationary and just rotate the turret to keep the camo net working at all times. So a lot of times I like to just be in a good spot and let it run, so you can keep that max camo going as much as possible. So just taking any shots I can get here. I want to conserve hit points, especially because our team is already down 2. But I know I've got the big guns, so just trying to look for shots. They're all really kind of centered around the cap. So at least I know where they are. We just don't have a ton of support at this point. So I knew I'd be able to get that shot off without being spotted, and it works beautifully. Just kind of holding still, like I said, to maximize my camo values. I'm only rolling forward when I know I don't have line of sight with any tanks. So just kind of keeping an idea where they are. Anytime an ISU rolls out like that, I want to maximize as much as I can. But at this point, I'm pretty sure we've got a loss going because we were just getting spanked, and there's some really big guns left with a lot of hit points. You can see the great HE pen on this tank. And so that's why I was able to get through the front of him here really quickly. So I've got this T-43 pushing really hard. My last teammate dropped, so I'm in a 1 versus 5 situation. Luckily, I really have a good idea of where they all are. So as soon as I can get rid of that T-43, I want to run as quickly as possible. I need to relocate. I'm really just kind of at this point hoping to pick off 1 or 2. To stat pad a little bit with it, but I know there's at least a possibility if I can get to the other side of the fort, because there's some really good spots where you can abuse the bushes, and I'm hoping that if I can get fully set up, then I can at least pick off 1 or 2 on the way over to me. They know the situation is 4 versus 1, obviously, because they're not capping, and I'm not. I've got some decent speed. I'm cruising at 35 kilometers an hour, but it's certainly not breakneck speed. So Like I said, I'm just trying to get over here. I'm loaded with HE partially because I'm hoping to track anything if they're coming close to me, because I really want to try and get into the bushes if I can, and at this point it looks like I'm going to be able to sneak in. So gonna go ahead and sit my tank sideways so I can roll forward and backward and have maximum opportunities. And you can see even there the great view range where I'm able to see two tanks coming into me even before my binocs is set up and get a shot into one of the higher health tanks that's left. And now I'm in full camo mode, can fully abuse. So now as long as I can reload, obviously this is a slower reload than most, I'm going to have some opportunities to pick them off at a distance. So getting the T-29, but I can feel the IS-3 coming up behind me, and he was going to spot no matter what, so that's why I rolled into cover, and that's why I'm in this spot. It presents myself with a lot of opportunities to kind of fight through it. So once I'm loaded, I want to roll out with the HE because he's got that nice low hit points, and I know there's two mediums left that are going to be quicker. So they both charge beautifully, exactly what I want them to do, so I can kind of roll back and out and give myself an opportunity here. If they were close together, I'd probably be thinking greedy and trying to get the double shot. But at this point, I know I'm in really, really great shape and have really worked into a good situation, and this is where the Borsig really shines, like I said, with abusing that camo and using that 360-degree turret. Situation like that's kind of all about just abusing the strengths of your tank, and that's why I was able to run away and kind of get the win for it and show how versatile having a turret on a TD, especially a 360-degree turret, can be. I mean, really, it makes this tank pretty special. Okay, we're going to switch over now to the new Malinovka, and again, just some good examples of how you can really abuse this tank and use that turret and kind of nice mobility to put yourself in good situations to kind of clutch up at the end of games also. Because of the setup I'm using with the full sniper setup and being on this side of the map, I want to always roll forward into these lanes. Once you're up here, you can let your binocs kick in, and sometimes if they're going up to the mill area, you can pick them off or pick up the spots as they're working their way up, and sometimes sneak some shots in. At the very least, you can kind of get a count for who's going where. And you can kind of see as they work their way up kind of the positions of the tanks and where they're going to be. So that's why I'm hanging in for a few bits even after they continue on, just looking for those nice early spots. Spotting early in the game is really powerful just because it lets you know kind of where to set and have an idea of where you can set up. So it's just kind of a knowledge is power situation. I'm spotted, which means there's probably something closer to me than I would necessarily like. I did roll out and possibly gave some line of sights, but it's something I know I have to be a little bit wary about, that something could be in the middle. I'm really just protecting the backside at this point because I also know there's a decent chance we're going to get something coming that direction. But when the Rudy pops up, it gives me ability to go ahead and put a good shot into him. There's a good chance he's the one that spotted me before anyway, just that I wasn't able to see him since I was starting to move around and had broken camo. So just letting the reload happen and kind of hoping he's going to stick his face back out. It's a pretty dangerous tank even at a tier lower, so I want to be able to get rid of him if we get the opportunity. And now I'm worried because our heavies here to my left have gotten themselves kind of exposed and are starting to drop pretty heavily. So I'm hoping I can just sneak some shots in. This IS-6 has got a nice side scrape going, so I'm hoping just to get a nice pin in there. But unfortunately, with the normalization on heat, don't get the penetration. But still, that's kind of where the front is right now, so unless another tank presents itself as a nice easy target, that's the front I kind of want to help work, especially because that IS-6 is pretty dangerous. So there he kind of over angles a bit because he's worried about the tanks more to my right, which gives me more of a flush angle to shoot at. So it's I'm able to sneak a shot in, which is, like I said, it's about sometimes just knowing the most dangerous tank left. And in that position he is, if I were to roll around, it'll put him on my flank, and his HE shells can do a lot of damage to me. So obviously have to take the free kill when it rolls up, but again, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. We have a nice tank advantage at this point, but because of the way you can see some of the red tanks playing and the low health of the tanks on our side, it could turn pretty easily. So I'm just playing it really kind of slow and cautious. And there you can see we're starting to drop a little bit. At this point, I'm kind of starting to think, and I should have done it sooner, switched over to HE, because 2 HE shots on the side probably would have done it, so I'm kind of wasting time here just a little bit. But I was hoping something would push so I could get the kill shot, and unfortunately it bounced instead. So there's a lot of health left, a lot of big tanks, and yeah, we're definitely starting to hurt a little bit at this point. But I'm still in a really advantageous position. That's just a bad RNG luck there, and that's okay. It happens sometimes. I kind of have him contained. I know the T-23 to my right has just kind of been camping this whole game, so he's probably not going to be a lot of help at this point. So I need to conserve health as much as I can. I finally get rid of that IS-6. I definitely spent too much time on him. But it happens sometimes. This is a pretty tough situation here now. This is one of those tanks that probably, if you're playing it right, is going to induce a fair amount of rage. I think this whole tank line will, because you have no armor. It doesn't really matter what your team says. You can't be expected to work the front line because you won't get off probably more than 1 or 2 shots. You have to play back and be judicious with your hit point pool, and so it's just something you have to be aware of. So the T-44 pushing is a much bigger concern at this point. I was hoping to get the HE round in, but I actually misfired there. It's something that happens to me a lot where I go to hit the fire button and it actually doesn't go. So that's why I missed that one there, and it was a little bit late going off. 44 pushing behind is definitely dangerous, and there when it gets my loader, I'm pretty sure this is done at this point, but I've got to push through because I know I can at least get rid of the KV-4, and then I can keep 1 tank in front of me. The beautiful thing is he doesn't know that my loader's dead, so I'm hoping to at least keep my gun forward and keep him a little bit nervous. Luckily he didn't shoot HE at me because that probably would have done it right there. But this is one of the things I really love about this tank. You can see this extremely low profile where the dead KV-4 can completely protect my tank, and then with that nice front and back motion and the full turret, it allows you to kind of keep that tank a lot smaller than it necessarily is. So pushing through, and I really wanted the track shot with it. I didn't care if it didn't do as much damage, because it was unlikely I was going to get the perfect shot there. So now it lets me reload because I had the adrenaline saved up again, and to kind of finish it off. Just really trying to keep yourself as a small target. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you don't have armor. If you just make yourself hard to hit, which is something this tank is extremely good at, it turns out okay. There's a great example of how that high bar, kind of with that finish too. Okay, and we're going to switch over to one last battle here. I like to show variety when I can do it. This is against a really nice dragon platoon with a fellow streamer. So it's going to be difficult right off the bat because the dragon can be really difficult to hit, especially with a tank that has really slow shell velocity like the Borsig. So we should, it should be interesting kind of battle right off the bat. So we're pushing up the rail side. Luckily we do have the tier advantage over that good platoon of being the tier up in the big tanks. You can see there I'm also platooned with Howitzer DD. So we've got kind of a nice setup. So I'm going to push all the way over, mostly because our team has pushed over this direction too, and they're going to give me spots. It'll let me hang out back. I also like this spot to start off quite a bit because this building gives a lot of opportunities to kind of duck into cover if I need it. The ST is always going to be a really nice tank to put some HE into, but unfortunately I nicked that front drive wheel instead, and the shells absorb quite a bit of it. But sometimes the HE rounds you just have to get a little greedy with it and see what happens. I can see the 62 starting to dance around, and that's why I chase. You always know who your strong competition is on the other side. So just something to always be aware of as far as selecting targets. We can see now where Red's really trying to set up, and they're staying more to the inside. They're not pushing as far to the outside, which gives us some ability to kind of move up and start to look for shots between the tracks. This is a map that's a little bit tougher for a tank like the Borsig because it doesn't have a lot of hills to work around, but luckily, like I said, it does have the low profile, so it gives you some flexibility here and there. The great HE round, unfortunately, it's always going to delete something like the like the dragon, and so I'm going to take it when I can get it. But in a situation like this where they're really spread out, you have to have some good map awareness and make sure you're not going to roll out when a tank is looking at you. that was a bad choice. Should have fired an AP round, but when there's a lot of mediums around, it's something you like to be greedy. And like I said, a good example of where it's a little bit tougher to hide a tank like this on a map like this. So I'm just kind of rolling around and trying to take as long as I can to work up the reload to make sure that that I can at least not take more than one round from that T-43. So instantly going to look at the lighter target there right off the bat, hoping to sneak that HE in, and that is just a 1 in a million shot. Really a Hail Mary, but he was running that direction, so you kind of figure why not. You're going to have time to reload either way. I need to be careful with the Tiger 2 again because it has the nice HE round, so all I'm doing is kind of keeping an eye on where his gun is pointed, kind of over the top of the building. I can see as he starts to turn, he's focused on another tank, which lets me pop out and fire that heat. Yes, obviously I'm firing a lot of heat with this gun. It's just because it needs the penetration values, and honestly this tank earns well enough as it is. It's not going to cost you a ton of credits if you're firing a few judiciously to get those guaranteed pens. You have to do the same thing in Tier 9 games, but the nice thing is with the HE and the mobility, this tank still does really, really well. At Tier 9, it just, you have to be even more careful with your hit points because there's not a lot to work with, and they can get deleted pretty quickly. So as you can see, they're just a standard shot from that IS-3 does a ton of damage, and proportionately you just can't take a lot of shots from it. So gonna push this direction with my teammate. It's still something you have to be careful of because all of our tanks are pretty low health as well, except for me, who's allowed to kind of hold up a little bit. Nice way to use the AP round through the destructibles, but like I said, with that ISU left, you just had to wanted to be a little bit careful with it as well. So lots of good kind of gameplay through this. Like I said, this tank is just a monster. I recommend playing it right now while you can because I just don't think it's gonna hold up. So hope you enjoyed that. I've been told I need to self-promote a little bit more, so if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow on Twitch. I'm usually streaming every 2 or 3 days. I don't know if I'm always going to self-promote, but people have been telling me to do it a lot lately, so here you get the shameless plug. So thanks a lot, guys, and have a good week.